just got your phone.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Man, this is my third attempt.
Don't be nervous.
All right.
So,
Yes, sir.
there's a live GPS.
Okay. All right.
So all you're doing is downloading that information into us.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
I want to know that that vehicle is safe to take out on the road.
Right on. Right on.
That's all you're doing.
Okay. Will do. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
And then we'll let you pick a card.
Yes, sir.
We'll decide, that will decide which one to touch it.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully, I'm not going to unwise. The last 5 of these I've done, 4 of them. Hopefully it's not on
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Hey, it ain't no wood to knock on. I said it's not no wood to knock on.
Okay. All right. Well, please demonstrate that you know how to conduct a vehicle inspection, as you normally do for any vehicle that you're about to operate. You're to conduct a vehicle inspection as outlined in the CDL driver's manual. If you have that memory aid for Section 11, you can use that. As you do your inspection, point to or touch the item or items that you're inspecting and fully explain what you're inspecting on each item. If you do not do so, you will not get credit for that item. There may be times where I may ask you to repeat something, maybe because I didn't hear you or didn't hear you, maybe misunderstood. I just want to make sure, just make sure you get the proper credit for what you say.
Yes, sir.
Okay. During the test, you will only inspect the items down the driver's side of the vehicle. If there are any items that are unique to the other side of the vehicle, please inspect those items as well. Do you have any questions?
You said we can use that memory aid. I actually have it in my car. I didn't know if I could go get it or no.
Too late?
Too late. Okay.
All right, let me get the
All right.
see what happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
got one. I mix them all up, and I don't even know what order they're in.
Hopefully I pick wise. Hopefully I pick wise.
All right. Take your pick. You sure you want that one?
Yes, sir. That one
Sure.
right. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that one right there.
Gun A. All right.
All right. Woo.
Give me a few moments to get you set up for my shoot.
Yes, sir.
I do have some things here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Automated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right.
So that you have an hour to do both the pre-trip and your backing skills. However
Okay.
you split that 60 minutes up is up to you, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I will first begin with the general overview of the front of my truck. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure my truck isn't sitting left to right, indicating some sort of suspension or tire issue. It is not sitting left to right, so it is perfectly operable. Next, I'll look under my truck to see if I see any low-hanging lines, wires, and hoses. I do not see any. I also want to make sure I don't see any puddles indicating any leaks from up under the hood. I do not see any puddles under my truck as well. Next, I want to talk about my clearance lights at the top, as well as my left and right turn signals, four-way flashers, nighttime running lights, and reflectors. They are properly mounted and secured. They're all properly mounted and secured. They're all not cracked, bent, or broken, and they're all in the proper color of amber, and all of the nuts and bolts are present on all of them. Next, I want to talk about my headlights. I have high and low beam headlights. They are properly mounted and secured on both sides. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They are, all nuts and bolts are present, and they're not clouded over. Also, my high and low beams are working properly, as they should. Besides that, I want to make sure I talk about my windshield. My windshield is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it has seals around the outside of the windshield. The seals are not cut, torn, or frayed, or have any abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and is not leaking from the outside into the cab. I also have my mirrors. My side mirrors are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. They're free of any stickers or debris. And then I have my finger mirrors on both sides. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they are, free of any stickers or debris. I also have my windshield wiper blades and my windshield wipers. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and I will show those are operable during my in cab. Other than that, I have my tag. My tag is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is current or up to date. Now I will open my hood with 3 points of contact, and I'll begin on my passenger side. First, let me unlock it. So on my passenger side, I want to do a general overview of my lines, wires, and hoses. So I see my hoses like this. They are properly mounted and secured, have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and they're not leaking. Then I look for like my wires. They are properly mounted and secured, not cut, torn, or frayed. All right, so as I go down and begin, first thing I want to point out is my alternator. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. It is also a belt-driven alternator. The belt is right here. It is properly mounted and secured, not cut, torn, or frayed. And when you pull on it, it has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. Other than that, I have my windshield washer fluid, my windshield washer reservoir, I'm sorry. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It is filled to the manufacturer specifications, or I have enough to complete my trip. My exhaust, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It is free of any illegal welds. And for this side, yes, that's all I want to talk about for this side. Oh, also my radiator. My radiator is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. All right, so now as I move to my driver's side, I'll continue. Just like the other side, I first want to do a general overview of my lines, wires, and hoses. So I look at like my hoses right here. They are all properly mounted and secured. Have no abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and they're not leaking. All the nuts and bolts are secure. Look at my my lines. They are properly mounted and secured, not cut, torn, or frayed, and all the nuts and bolts are secure. Behind my firewall, to begin, I have my air compressor. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is a gear-driven air compressor. Also behind my firewall, a little bit lower, but I have my power steering pump. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it too is gear driven. Starting up top, I have my coolant reservoir. The cap is present and on tight. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is not leaking. It is also filled to the manufacturer specification between the minimum and the fill lines. Next, I want to talk about my water pump. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. There are no illegal welds, and it too is not leaking. The system. It is a belt-driven water pump, and the belt is right up in here. It is properly mounted and secured, not cut, torn, or frayed. And also, when you push on it in the middle, it does not have more than 3/4 of an inch of play. Next, I have my oil fill. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. The cap is present and on tight. All nuts and bolts are present. It is not leaking, and it is working to the manufacturer specification. I have my oil fill dipstick. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It too is not leaking, and to check it, I would pull it out, wipe it off, reinsert it, pull it out again, and read it. I will want it between the add and the fill lines. I do not add oil unless it's at add. My power steering reservoir. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. The cap is present and on tight. All the hoses leading to and from are properly mounted and secure with no abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and they're not leaking. I also want to make that note for my water pump and my coolant reservoir as well, is the hoses to and from are not leaking, have no abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and you know, they are properly mounted and secured. All right, power steering reservoir. So next, I will move on to my steering column. First, I want to talk about my steering shaft. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It has U-joints at the top and the bottom. that are properly greased and free of debris. The U-joints are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And when I turn on the steering shaft, I have no more than 10 degrees of play, which is proper manufacturer specifications. Next, I'll move down to my power steering gearbox. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It's free of any illegal welds, and it is not leaking. Next, I will go, also any tubes and wires leading to and from are properly mounted, secured, have no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and they are not cut, torn, or frayed, or leaking in any way. Next, I have my my steering linkage, so it'll be my pitman arm, my drag link, my upper control arm, my lower control arm, and then my tie rod. They're all a part of my steering linkage. They are all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All the nuts and bolts are present. They are held together with castle nuts and cotter pins. They are also properly greased, well lubricated at each castle nut and cotter pin. And each joint is on a ball joint. So each one of these joints is on a ball joint. Again, my pivot arm is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. My drag link is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. My upper control arm is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. My lower control arm is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And my tie rod is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and all nuts and bolts are present. All right, as I move forward, I want to talk about my frame. My frame is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. Coming from my frame, I have my spring hangers, front and rear. They are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they are free of any illegal welds. Coming from my spring hangers, I have my leaf springs. They are not shifted, and they are properly adjusted, one on top of the other. If it has a crack, it's no more than 1/4 of an inch. It is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it's free of any illegal welds. It's held to the axle with U-joints. My U-joints, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. Next, I want to talk about my shock absorber mounts at the top and the bottom, as well as my shock absorber. My shock absorber mounts, they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they're free of any illegal welds. My shock absorber is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It too is free of any illegal welds, and it is not leaking. It has bushings at the top and the bottom. My bushings are not damaged or dry rotted. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and all nuts and bolts are present. All right, so as I move outward, I would like to talk about my brake hose and my ABS line. My brake hose is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and it is not leaking any air or anything like that. It's connected to my brake chamber. My ABS line is properly mounted, secured, not cut, torn, or frayed. Next, I have my brake chamber. My brake chamber is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. It is held together with top and bottom brake clamps that are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is free of any illegal welds. Coming from my brake chamber, I have my push rod and slack adjuster. It is held in with a clevis pin and a cotter key. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It's free of any illegal welds, and with the brakes released, it has no more than 1 inch of play. All right. All right, so I'll move inward to my brake pad and linings. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. My lining is free of any, my pad, I'm sorry, is free of any debris or grease. And it has the proper thickness of at least 1/4 of an inch. It is sitting inside of my brake drum. My brake drum is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It's free of any illegal welds, and it is it's free of any illegal welds, and it's working properly. I want to make the note that my brake lining too is free of any illegal welds, as well as my brake chamber. All right, so now I want to move on to my tire. I have the inner, outer, and the face of my tire. This is a new or virgin tire. It cannot be recapped or regrooved. It has at least 432 inches of tread depth. It's filled to 100 PSI or to manufacturer specifications. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Doesn't have any abrasion bubbles or cuts. Not cut, torn, or frayed anywhere. And it looks like it is in proper working condition. It is seated and beaded all the way around to my rim. My rim is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and there are no illegal welds to my wheel. My lug nuts, all of them are present. They are on tight. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Yeah, like I said, they're all present. They don't have any metal shavings or rust trails indicating any looseness, and nor can I see any hole behind any of the lug nuts. Next, I have my hub oil seal. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. All nuts and bolts are present. And to check if it was properly lubricated, I would take off this cap right here, stick my finger in, and I should feel grease to about my first knuckle, which it is. It's properly greased. Next, I want to talk about my valve stem. My valve stem is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It is not leaking any air, so it is filled to 100 PSI, and the cap is present and on tight. If the cap wasn't on, I would report it to my DVIR. I just want to do a quick once around just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And that will complete my car day. Yes, sir. Okay.
Now we're going to inspect all the jumping items on both the truck and the trailer.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir. Whew. So to begin with coupling, I want to start talking about my service line, my service hose, and my emergency hose. My service hose is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No abrasion, bubbles, or cuts. It's not cut, torn, or frayed in any manner. It's not leaking anything, and it is attached at the end with glad hands. Glad hands right here. My emergency line is properly mounted and secured. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. It's not cut, torn, or frayed. It's properly mounted and secured. All the nuts and bolts are there. And it too is not leaking anything and attached at the end with glad hands. My electrical line is properly mounted and secured. Not cut, torn, or frayed. It is properly mounted and secured to by the end to pigtails with a pigtail. All of these are connected from the back of my tractor to the front of my trailer. They are all the proper height off of the catwalk as to ensure that it does not get caught on anything during turns. and they are all properly mounted and secured with all of the correct nuts and bolts. As I move on with my pigtail, I want to check it and make sure it's free of any debris or grease, both on the inside and inside the pigtail, both inside the electrical box and the pigtail. It is properly mounted and secured and free of any debris. Next, I want to talk about my glad hands. My glad hands are properly mounted and secured. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And on the inside of my glad hands, I have seals. My seals on both glad hands are not cut, torn, or frayed. They're properly mounted and secured, and they're not leaking. This is my electrical box. My electrical box is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And my pigtail is attached firmly inside my electrical box. Let me make sure. There we go. Now it's in there. Yeah, trying to grab it. There we go. All right. So coming from my electrical box, as well as my glad hands, all of my lines, wires, and hoses are properly mounted and secured. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and they're not cut, torn, or frayed. Under my trailer right here, I have my air actuator hose. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. It is has no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and it is not leaking. It is connected to my actuator, which is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And my actuator too is not leaking anything. I just want to make a note again, everything, my electrical line, service hose, and emergency hose are all connected from the back of my tractor to the front of my trailer. It has enough room off the catwalk where it won't get caught on anything during turns. And yeah, that's good. All right. So under here I have my apron. It is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. There are no holes or anything to lose cargo. And it is sitting directly on top of my fifth wheel skid plate with no gap. There's no gap between my apron and my fifth wheel skid plate. My fifth wheel skid plate is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. And it is properly greased to hold my apron. I have my pivot pin, my gate, as well as my fifth wheel mount on the inside here. It is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and all the nuts and bolts are present and on tight. Next, I have my release arm and safety latch. It is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is in the locked position. I have my fifth wheel platform. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it's free of any illegal welds. I also want to make that note that my skid plate and my apron are free of any illegal welds, as well as my pivot pin and my release arm. As I move on, I have my fifth wheel slide rail mount, my fifth wheel slide rail, and my fifth wheel slide rail mounting bolts. My fifth wheel slide rail mount is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. My sliding rails is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it too is free of any illegal welds. It has indentions on the inside, so that's where we'll find my locking pins. My fifth wheel slide rail mounting bolts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and there are no shavings around it indicating any sort of looseness on any of my slide rail mounting bolts. On the inside here, we have our fifth wheel locking pins. They are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it's currently in the locked position. Uh, as I go under, in the middle of my skid plate, I have my kingpin. It is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and there are no illegal welds. Also, on my kingpin, I have my kingpin shank. Wrapped around my kingpin is my kingpin shank. It is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and there are no illegal welds. Wrapped around my kingpin shank, I have my locking jaws. My locking jaws are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and there are no illegal welds, and they're wrapped firmly around my kingpin shank. All right. Now, from the back of my tractor to my landing gear, I have enough room to complete any turns without anything getting caught or hung up on anything. And as far as when it comes to my coupling devices, I would check the other side just as I inspected this side.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, we're going to start work. Go inside the cab.
Yes,
we'll
sir.
do the engine start and in-cab inspection. Okay.
Okay. Before we do the in-cab inspection, should I do my external light check?
Doesn't matter either way. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Okay. To complete the vehicle inspection, perform an external light operation check and complete the in-vehicle inspection and engine start. Yes, any questions?
All right.
I got them backwards. I apologize.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. So what are we going to do for the external vehicle light inspection?
I'm gonna put my hood down, and then I'll get inside of the cab. I would like to check the front of my vehicles first, my left and right turn signals, four-way flashers, high and low beams, and then in the back I would like to check my left and right turn signal, my brake light, and reverse light.
Okay.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So first test would be my left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashers, my low beams, as well as my high beams. All right. Yes, sir. Left, right, brake, and reverse. That last one was reverse. That last one was reverse. Reverse. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to sit in the middle? You want me in the middle? Or?
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna just cut the truck off to begin.
This is my rear right seat.
Yeah. Oh, might be on the other side.
Nope.
No? Oh, man.
No big.
All right. So to begin, first thing I want to do is I want to check my safety equipment. My safety belt, seat belt is properly mounted and secured. Not all the nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not cut, torn, or frayed. The belt, it latches and unlatches properly. Next, I want to talk about my fire extinguisher. It is under my driver's seat. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is filled to 10 BC or manufacturer specification. Also, it's not leaking. Under my passenger seat, I have my reflective triangles. They are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They are clear and visible to see, and I have the proper number of 3. Behind my dash, I have my spare and regular fuses. They are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they are working to the manufacturer's specifications. I will perform a safe start. Let my gauges flip. All right, my ABS light came on and went off, indicating that it's working properly. All right. So I want to assist my PSI in building up. So just press on the gas. So my PSI is right here at between 120 and 140 PSI. Sitting right there at the line. So the first thing I want to talk about is my mirrors. My mirrors are properly mounted and secured. I have my 2 in the front and my 2 on the side. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. They're set to my vision, and they're free of any illegal stickers or debris that could impede my vision. Next, I want to talk about my glass, windshield, and my other window over there. They're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. They go up and down properly, and they're free of any stickers or illegal debris that could impede my vision. Around all of my glass, I have seals. All of my seals are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not cut, torn, or frayed, have no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and they're not leaking. All the bolts are present and on tight. Next, I want to talk about my windshield wipers. So my windshield wipers, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present. They're working properly, and on the end they have blades. The blades are not cut, torn, or frayed. They're properly mounted and secured, and they're pressed firmly up against my glass. 2, I have enough windshield washer fluid to complete the trip. All right, so next I want to talk about my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my 4-way flasher, my nighttime running light, my low beam, as well as my high beam. They're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All the nuts and bolts are present, and they are working to the manufacturer's specifications, or they're working properly. Next, I want to talk about my city horn, highway horn. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they are working to the manufacturer specifications. All right. So from there, I want to go ahead and begin talking about my gauges. My oil pressure gauge is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is currently rising to manufacturer specifications. This is my fuel and my depth fuel gauge. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and I have enough of each to complete the trip, at least 1/8 of a tank of depth fuel, and I'm sitting right here at a 1/2 a tank of diesel fuel. My tachometer is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is sitting at 600 RPM. My primary and secondary air gauges are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and they are currently between 120 and 140 PSI. My water temperature gauge is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is rising to the manufacturer specifications. My speedometer is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and I will show that this is working during my 5 mile per hour test. My voltage meter is digital. Is right here. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and it is sitting right at 14, right around 14 voltages at 14.3. Which is where it should be. Next, I want to talk about my climate control. I have my defrost, properly mounted, secure, working properly, and my heat. Got heat coming out here. He right here. He down here, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All nuts and bolts are present, and the climate control is working properly. All right. So, talked about all of my safety equipment, my equipment on the truck, and my gauges. Next, I want to chalk my wheels so that I can begin the lab portion of my test. So first let me cut the vehicle off. It's in neutral. All right. Take the key with me. Sure, 3 points of contact. Points of contact back in. Safety belt on. All right. Key inside. All right. So the first thing I want to do now is perform a safe start. I want my gauges to come on. My gauges flickered. My ABS light came on and went off, indicating that it's working properly. And I want to push in my parking and trailer brakes. All right. So I'm gonna let my brake cycle. While I'm letting my brake cycle, the first test that I'm going to do is gonna be our applied pressure brake test. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold the brake down for a minute, and I should not lose more than 4 PSI. All right, do you mind timing me for that minute? All right. All right, ready and go. All right. I did not lose more than 4 PSI. It started at the 100 level right there. The next thing that I want to do is my lab test. This is my lights, alarms, and buttons test. I want to fan my brakes until I get between 60 and 80 PSI, and my lights and alarms should come on. So I will begin that now. My lights and alarm did come on. I will continue to fan it between 20 and 40 PSI, and my buttons, both my buttons should pop out. I'll do that. I will start that now. All right. Both my buttons did pop out, indicating that they are working properly. Next, I want to get out and unchalk my wheels, but first I just want to start the truck so I can turn my wheels so it'll be easy to get the chalks out. All right. And I'm gonna cut the truck off. I'll take the key with me. All right, 3 points of contact. All right. All right. So now I'm gonna put my seatbelt on. I will start the truck up, perform a safe start now. My ABS light came on and went off, indicating that it is working properly. All right. So now for this portion of the test, I want to go on to my tug test. But before I do so, do you mind if I help building my air pressure back up? All right. And when it gets to between 120 and 140, we should hear the governor cut out. they didn't tell us. They didn't tell us. But my air governor did just cut off. I didn't know if you heard it.
2018 to 2020.
No, it's actually pretty nice. It's they got 2 of these at the school, so man. All right. So okay. Now I'm getting ready to do my tug test. This is just to ensure that both my parking brake and trailer brake are working correctly independently. So to begin, I will push in my parking brake and leave my trailer brake. And once I push that in, I'm gonna put it in drive, give it a little tug. Yes, sir. There we go.
Sorry, the instructors.
Hey, I appreciate it. All right, so my trailer brake is working properly. So now I'll put it back in neutral, and I will release my parking brake, and I'm gonna push in my trailer brake, see if my parking brake is working as it should. Yes, sir. My parking brake is working as it should. Pull out my trailer brake supply, put it back in neutral.
Now you can pull forward and get the traffic trailer straight to you before you do the brake test, or
5 mile per hour.
however you want to do it, as long as we're not hitting it further.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll pull it forward. Do you want me to go in the second
Yeah,
lane?
we're going to go into the second lane.
Okay. So I'm gonna push in both my buttons.
But all you need to do is just pull forward about 10 feet through the
Okay.
lane.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll pull forward.
Yes, sir.
Pull up to the front of the second lane, right to the side of the
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
All the way up.
Wait. Okay, start.
Right here.
Then over here. We gotta get stuff
Okay.
lined up.
Hey, no problem. I understand. I understand that.
Problem is, we're gonna have a backup up there at the skills section.
Oh, right. That's true.
Because all these are waiting on the skills.
Yeah, we just gonna have to get in line, right?
I think I can safely say congratulations, you passed the pre-trip.
Oh man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how long I've been coming up here trying to get it. I really appreciate that.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yeah, when he walked off, I said that could either be really good or really bad. You want me to go up some?
Move the cones, so I'm assuming you wanted us to come forward.
Yes, sir. All the way up?
You're gonna center your truck. Well, that's the first 2 cones up there.
Okay.
If he does signal us forward, that's the next.
Oh, next set? Okay.
If he does signal us forward, we're gonna pull forward and get lined up in between, to go in between them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's signaling us to come forward.
Okay.
Usually clear the back cones and then just set up.
Clear the back on? Yes, sir.
Stop before you get to the front. I gotta push the front where he's at.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir.
I'll wait until we get ready to go on the route and then we'll give you directions.
Okay. No
That way
problem.
it's fresh in your mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So once they get ready to do it, we'll give you directions.
Yes, sir.
You want to stretch your legs?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Take them to get that done.
I got you. Right. Let me cut this truck off.
Sure. Okay.
Today. Let's go. Oh yeah. Oh, shut it off? Okay.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you can see what we're going to do, straight line back.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to have to read this to you to make sure you understand.
No problem.
Okay, there's a basic control skills test. You will demonstrate your ability to maneuver a commercial motor vehicle around other objects. You will receive points for pull-ups and crossing over or touching boundary lines or stores.
Yes, sir.
Just to kind of explain that, while you were doing the pre-trip, every mark is a good thing.
Right.
When you're doing this right here, every mark is a
Bad thing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. You'll be permitted to exit the vehicle to check behind.
Okay.
When exiting the vehicle, you must set your parking brake, place the vehicle in neutral, and must safely exit facing the vehicle while maintaining 3 points of contact at all times.
Yes, sir.
You must complete the exercise as directed. If you open the door, move from a seated position where in physical control of the vehicle, you will be scored for a look.
Yes, sir.
So anytime you open the door, even if you don't get out of the seat, it's considered a look.
Yes, sir.
If you get out of the seat, it's considered a look as well.
Okay.
Okay? If you see me raise my hand like this, or you hear us blow a whistle, make sure to stop the vehicle and pull it back within the boundary lines.
Okay.
The boundary lines are going to be your codes right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Whenever you're finished, make sure and stop your vehicle, pull your brakes, and sound your horn.
Okay.
Okay? So straight line backing, pull forward past the alley. You want the back of your trailer to be just beyond that last set of cones right there. We'll be up there in the front kind of directing you when your trailer is passed.
Okay.
And when you see us stop, make sure and stop.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Stop your vehicle, then back your vehicle to the opposite way. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. My bad. Back straight through the alley until the front of your vehicle has cleared the last set of cones. Just like you're sitting right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay? We're not going to tell you when to stop.
Right, right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. You're allowed one free pull-up
Okay.
and may exit the vehicle only once to check behind your vehicle.
Okay.
Anytime after that is score a point.
Points. Okay.
Set your parking brake and sound your horn when you've completed the exercise.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
have any questions?
No, sir.
You're going to pull up and back up to the same original position where you started.
Okay.
Just
Yes,
like
sir.
you are right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
All right.
You good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you. All right. Yes, sir.
Good job on that one.
Thank you.
Offset backing. Pull forward past the alley. Stop when you're, okay. To the boundary line ahead. The boundary line is basically going to be the curve all the way up ahead.
All the way? Okay.
Stop your vehicle, then back your vehicle to the opposite lane. We're going to back over to this left side lane.
Okay.
Okay? So your vehicle is... So the front of your vehicle has passed the first set of cones. What you're going to basically be doing, go straight up like this.
Yes, sir.
Then you're going to back into the left.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're going to start up there, right
Okay.
at the beginning of the cone. Okay. You're allowed 2 free pull-ups,
Okay.
and you may exit the vehicle twice.
Twice. Okay.
Okay? And nice one, 2 times step behind the vehicle, set your parking brake, and sound your horn when you're finished.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you understand what we talked about with the maneuver?
Yes, sir.
Okay?
So what you can do, read through this entire thing, and then we're going to reiterate, show the diagram, and then reiterate if you have any questions.
Okay. Okay, you meet sir.
Yes, sir. Oh. I thought y'all were gonna give me a a note. Yeah, I wasn't thinking. I was in bagging mode.
So good.
All right, thank you. Now this the granddaddy right here. Parallel.
You want to check the engine also?
Yes, sir.
This is your parallel parking maneuver.
Yes, sir.
He's already got the space set up for you based upon the measurements that we took.
Okay.
Drive straight ahead past the entrance to the parallel parking space with your vehicle parallel to the parking area.
Okay.
Then back into the parking space. You're allowed 2 free pull-ups and may exit the vehicle a maximum of 2 times to check behind the vehicle during the exercise.
Yes, sir.
Your vehicle must be completely within the space when completed.
Okay.
Set your parking brake. Sound your horn when you have completed the exercise.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Well, you explain to them that you're ready to turn up? Okay. All right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You had one more point to spare.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
One more point to spare.
Man, I was right there on the cusp.
Yeah, you were. All right.
Yes, sir.
Good news and bad news. What do you want?
Bad news.
Bad news is our time together has come to an end.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
This is really good with this bad news. I mean, I wouldn't expect something to be destroyed.
You know,
like, oh,
Here's
it's like
the prep work I had.
Yeah, yeah.
Jamie, she's gonna take you out on your road test, okay?
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
No problem. Good job.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day. I appreciate it.
No problem. You're the one there.
Live GPS.
Live GPS. Yes, sir. Have a good one. How you doing? All right.
You're gonna go straight and then curve that way.
Straighten and curve that way? Yes, ma'am.
There's still a cone on that side.
Still one cone right here? Okay, I got you. All right.
You'll stop right where that sign is.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and set your brakes.
All right.
You're gonna sign right there for me, please. Okay, I'm gonna go over some stuff with you before I start the test.
Okay.
During this road test, you will demonstrate your ability to operate a commercial vehicle in most road situations using the technique described in the CDL driver's manual. During the road test, continue straight ahead unless otherwise directed. I will give you direction as far in advance as possible. If you do not understand my directions, please ask for clarifications. I will not ask you to do anything that is unsafe or illegal. You are responsible for the safe and operation of this vehicle at all times. During the test, I will be making marks on the test form. This does not necessarily mean that you have done something wrong. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right. Also, at some point during the test, I will point out a landmark and ask you to describe the techniques that you will use for crossing railroad tracks and performing crossing the railroad tracks. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Alrighty. Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Whenever you're ready and it's safe to do so, at the street, turn left.
Okay, will do. Just shooting up so I can see a little bit past this tree. I see the speed limit is 30.
When it's safe to do so, merge to your right lane.
All right, it's safe to do so.
At the street, turn right.
Okay.
Okay, so you gotta wait till we give you the directions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what the instructions were.
Yes, ma'am. So the speed limit's 40.
When it's safe to do so, merge to your left lane.
All right. It's safe to do so. See, the speed limit's still 40.
At the street, turn left.
Okay. All right. Have a green arrow. Traffic stop.
At the street, turn right.
All right. It's safe to get over. Safe to get over once more.